diversity strategy point of view, can that help promote the Japanese business people's cultural integration to build trust with the local partners and become more leading players in the multicultural marketplaces beyond the Japanese customer base in Asia Pacific?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you say to build trust, first and foremost, I'll ask, amongst the Japanese community, which is very homogeneous, everyone's Japanese, so you understand each other very well. How do you, in that context, build trust?
Spending a lot of time. We need simply time.
Spending a lot of time with each other?
With each other. A few years' time, we get to know slowly. In business, we test people to see whether this person is trustworthy or not over an extended period of time, which we don't have once outside Japan, right? Short time.
Yes.
That's why I cannot build trust.
Yes. But when you say build trust, are you saying that people don't trust you or you don't trust them?
Whether we can trust them or not.
Correct. So it's whether you can trust them.
Yes.
And so traditionally in the Japanese context, you take time to get to know each other, which ideally I think every culture tends to do that.
Right.
But the reality, I think, in the workplace is you have very limited time, right, to build that trust.
That's right.
I think, therefore, you need to be realistic around the traditional way of time is just not an option. There is no time. And you then need to say, well, okay, what other ways would signal trust? It could be some deliberate way you would engage and ask questions of them to test them. But then trust, to me, is a two-way thing. So whilst you're saying two-way, meaning I think it's like human beings. If you start off trusting someone and therefore show that trust, you have a 50-50 chance. People may react and say, I betrayed that trust, but they're more likely to trust you back if you first show it. Now, you might say, well, I don't want to show it because in case I get shortchanged and I lose something. So I think this is about your own mental belief system.
Talking about expatriates, they are under tremendous pressure from Japan to show achievement and results to the bosses in Japan, right? So although the expat himself, as a person, as an individual, may want to trust, and he does trust maybe, but the time doesn't allow them to do this trust-building exercises.
Sure. But as I said, that's a given. So we can, I cannot create more time than 24-hour clock. I think the other thing in my mind around trust is look at other people's definition of behaviors which exhibit trust. So, for example, I can imagine if I come from a society whereby people just say what they mean and mean what they say, i.e. they're quite direct. In the Japanese lens and culture, being direct can be construed as rude or disrespectful, especially when you talk about hierarchy. So I think you need to understand that that is not always correct, especially for people from another culture. So for example, if I'm from a culture that I met you, just met you, but I'm pretty honest to tell you what I like or dislike about you, you are likely, if you are just not understanding my culture, to say what a rude woman she is. Especially since I'm a woman, you might say, oh, women are not supposed to behave this way. And therefore you say, I don't like the person, and how can I trust the person, right? So this is therefore, if you have a choice and I need you more, then maybe I might change for you. But if you have not a choice and you say, it's very difficult to work, and I don't trust, then you have made a wrong conclusion. Because it's not that you cannot trust me, it's just that the way that I behave looks foreign and alien to you, and you've added meaning to my behavior as negative, and therefore you've lost the opportunity to know me, and therefore to be able to trust me and to work with me as a partner. And I think therefore fundamentally the issue of time is the same for everybody. I also would love to have more time. But one of the ways that I would say if I'm meeting someone of a different culture from me is to get to understand their behaviors. Say for example, if I don't know about the Japanese other values around respect, hierarchy, age and all that, and I just come to Japan, and I was just like, can I trust the Japanese? Because they're always so polite. They never say no. But so when they don't say no to me and later they don't deliver to me, then I say they are not trustworthy. But because I know the Japanese culture, that they are because they're so polite, they don't want to hurt my feelings by saying no, then I know that when they say yes, I need to continue to establish they really mean yes, so that I won't be disappointed. So if I, as a foreigner, takes the trouble to know you as a Japanese and therefore say, well, look, I shouldn't dismiss the Japanese person as being untrustworthy just because he said yes to me at the meeting and then he never delivered. Equally, I would say that the Japanese needs to do the same to reach out to the other cultures, to sort of don't say dismiss people as being too blunt, don't respect my hierarchy, and therefore not trustworthy. I think the example that Fons Trompenas gave in the opening keynote around culture, where he said universalism and particularism. And he says, Easterners who says, I won't tell the judge, you know the story around. I won't tell I will save my friend. So my friend is not speeding. You remember the example? Yeah, so he said that the Eastern cultures would say, I would look at the situation and look at the friend thing, and I may not tell the judge that he was speeding. A Westerner would then say that how can I trust that no, this person is not trustworthy because he's not honest, right? Now the Easterner would say about the Westerner, he's not trustworthy because he don't even have friends. Remember the example? And to me that's a very powerful example around how people define trust in behaviors and misinterpret. Because it's equally valid, right? If you don't even have friends that you would stand up for, how can I trust you? I can never be your friend then, right? Because you won't stand up for me. Because in my culture, to trust and to call someone a friend requires, in a way, the evidence that I trust that he will stand up for me, right? But in another culture, it says trust means you must be honest, and therefore, if honestly my friend did speed, I must tell the truth. Then that to me means trust. It's not true. So to me, that's an example of how I think for the Japanese to want to get the trust of others and want to trust others, you must have more than one view of how trust looks like. And it cannot be just your view, because if your view prevails, then everybody must subscribe to your culture before they can earn your trust. And I can tell you, you will not get that, because the world is more than just one Japanese race. It has so many.
You know, to be able to do that, you need experiences, exposure in your environment since your childhood, right? Like a typical Japanese people in Japan who have no contact except tourists. You see sometimes it's very difficult to even to notice a certain behavior, you know. So in a limited time, you were talking about Chinese people are quite fast in learning diversity also. The Chinese people also may not have so many foreigners inside China, depending on this coastal areas.
Yes.
How can they be so open and make good friends with foreigners so fast?
Well, I think it's their own mindset around the want to the motivation to want to is very strong. If you want to and you're motivated to, you become very creative as to how to. And so, for example, I would say in this digital age, it's so easy. You go to YouTube, you get tremendous amount of literature, and you can, if you look at it with an open mind, you can begin to learn cultures from videos, movies, songs, pen pals, you know. I think if you have a motivation...
You need motivation, isn't it?
Correct.
Need for diversity. In Japan, people watching this may not share that the fundamental the need. Therefore, only when necessary, like working overseas, they begin for the first time in their life, right? That's their limitation is.
Correct. But equally, I think, you know, if you can have a forum where Japanese returning back from foreign lands can share their experiences, some of their struggles, and some of the beauty of having exposed and maybe adapted and embraced the richness. I think many Japanese settle in the US or, you know, they travel to Many Japanese, some Japanese marry foreigners, and that could be. I think the important thing is to have dialogue. The more dialogue you have, the more you will experiment and explore, and that's like a way of opening up your mind. You may not be physically there, but you can. To me, opening your mind starts with your own desire and motivation, and then you will be very, very inventive.
What was instrumental in having, having interest in diversity field yourself to end this conversation?
Well, as you know,
because your work, or personally, was there any reason for your?
Yes. I mean, I think the kind of work I do in the diversity work, you need passion, because it's not something that's easily understood. And sometimes when you do it, people don't understand you, frustrated because you don't know everything either. And I don't think you can ever. It's a learning journey. My motivation is basically my background as a Chinese in Malaysia. When I was discriminated because of the color of my skin, and that's not acceptable to me, because I believe in what I call equity. It's different from equality. Equity means fairness, transparency. So we talk about having equal opportunities does not mean equal outcomes, because equal opportunity is about fairness and openness and transparency. The outcome depends on my part in the equation. Do I deserve it? Have I earned it? Did I put my effort in it? So I think for me, my background, sort of from childhood, lends itself that when the corporate opportunity came for me to do this work, I could try to at least make my organization a fair place for employees like myself to say from whatever background, and also is key to success for a company that is a global company, because it has got diversity that it has to deal with in all the stakeholder groups of customers, employees, communities, government. So it just makes good sense from a humanitarian point of view as well as business sense. So if I had that opportunity to play in this field, and personally, for my development, understanding my own biasness that I carry, and understanding myself, how I react to people, how
bias doesn't stop, right?
I don't. Yeah. One of the things. Yeah. One of the things is we will be biased, but there's not an excuse that. Oh, it's not an excuse to say, well, I'm a bad person, so I want to remain bad. And it's not about good or bad. I think it is about us realizing that we can limit ourselves and others because we wear a certain lens, and our makeup, which is a function of our experience, our cultures that we were brought up with. And I think the world would be a safer, nicer place if we can at least try to reach out to each other.
So you're going to continue your journey?
Yeah. I keep telling people it's a journey till you die. I think, yes,
Okay.
I will try. I'm far from it yet. I still have my biasness, but I'm aware. I'm aware I have the biasness, which is the first step. The second step is I need to keep working at it to minimize and remove as many of the biasness as I can. So it's a lifelong journey.
Thank you very much for your
Thank
time.
you.
Thank you, Alaiha-san. Thank you very much.
My
Very
pleasure.
happy. Thank you for taking my...